find yourself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Nurov in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani, not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down in towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's just such a he's not a second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot have fun. Yeah, it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is enjoying himself watching. And Burger King machines off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tanso Racing Group TH Jordan GR86 League, and we are in the season finale. It's been a long season. It's been an exciting season brought to you here by TS Livery Designs, Revive, and Clark St. James, but in the end, we have made it. It's going to be myself, Bradley Dalton, bringing you some commentary here with Michael David tonight, and we are at Virginia International Raceway. 5.2 kilometers of action. It's a hot one here today in Virginia, just inside Alton City in good old Virginia, but it's going to be a good run. Qualifying has started to get underway, so as we let qualifying kick itself off, we do need to talk about the scores on the doors. So let's go ahead and bring those up as they stand. We look at our pro standings. Currently, we are going to be looking at Scott McFall, 591 points. Dan Wareham at 528. Ryan Dudley, 519. Elaine McCain, 454. Mark Brown at 452. Lee Rylands at 313. And of course, Mr. Carvalho down at 54 points. Joining in late here in the season, we jump to the AMs. This is where the big standings are. This is where the big battles are going to be, and this is where plenty of action can be found. Stephen Parker Hamilton, 492. Adrian Hadfield, 435. Scott Bell, 423. Terry Atkinson, 421. JT Johnson, 410 points. Anthony Jones, 405. Tim Walters at 382. Stuart Brierly, 281. Michael Walters, 273. John Kenny, 196. Michael Elms, 161. And Michael Vester at 123. And then, of course, Curtis Matthews, Sean Atkinson, Callum Milam, Lee Sadler, and Sean Clark. 17 drivers that have participated in this season in the AMs. In the Pro AMs, though, there's plenty to play for. Scott Brown at 574, Neil Kennedy 521, Dan Forrester at 423, Shane Bellinger at 388, Peter Duke at 353, Brett Take at 192, Rumej at 188, Chris Barnes 74, Craig Korish 69, Syrian Fletcher 52, and Peter Woodmore has not scored a point. But that is where we sit with scores on the doors. We've got drivers on qualifying laps here at Virginia International Raceway. And as we go around this lap of VIR, let's go ahead and bring in Michael to join me here for this season finale. Michael, good afternoon, my friend. As I know you and me are both in the U.S. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. I actually grew up in Northern Virginia, quite a far way away from here at VIR, but not too far, I guess you can consider it. So yeah, happy to be here for this. Give a shout out real quick to the YouTube chat. Curtis Matthews out there. Let's go for the final race of the season. Good to have you with us, Curtis. I'm not sure, is Curtis in the? Yeah, Curtis is in the roster too.
Yeah, Curtis.
So good luck, Curtis. But yeah, I'm stoked to be here for. Yeah. No, he's showing. It wasn't showing on my timing screen at first, but yeah, no, he's showing now. So we're good to go there. But yeah, VIR, one of my favorite tracks. It's going to be a blast to run around on the GR86 here.
Yeah, this track is a lot of fun. It's something that I enjoy. It's one that I've tried to learn. It's taken me a while to learn and get comfortable with, but doggone it, I have tried. But it is a track that can prove very, very challenging at times. But if you really sit down and you learn it, you're going to have a great time with it. So it is one that I definitely recommend that if you don't have it on the service, you should have it on the service. And you need to get comfortable putting in times and learning it and being ready to go, because it is a staple track. It's one that everyone needs to be familiar with, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. It is definitely a staple track. Lots of ups and downs, blind corners, kind of gives me in a way a feel of some of the British tracks that we drive on. You know, it's kind of got those, as we go up the hill right here, you're full throttle, flat out, and then all of a sudden the track's just going to dive away from you. You have a left-hand turn out of nowhere, and it just kind of reminds me of, you know, like a roller coaster. It's like some of those British tracks out there like to kind of throw random curveballs at you, but definitely does take a little getting used to track-wise. You can learn the layout, but that doesn't necessarily make you very comfortable here. There's a lot of intricacies on this track, so it's definitely a challenge for these drivers. But as you said, as we see, very, very, very wide there through the final corner and out to the main straight here. But yeah, no, this is definitely one of those staple tracks that you just kind of got to force yourself to learn and force yourself to get comfortable with, because it's going to come at you, and it's going to come at you fast.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun, though, and it is a track that I find to be very entertaining. We jump here with Scott Brown. Scott Brown, a very fast driver who's going to be putting in some challenging times here. And let me actually go ahead and get this timing tower up so you know who's where as we sit, because Scott Brown is top of the timing tables there in the Pro-Ams overall. And they all race together, Pro-Ams, and Ams. They're going to be on track together mixed up as we go through, but it can still, produce some good moments as we watch here. 4 minutes left to go in qualifying. Plenty of drivers that still haven't put in time. Starting out with Scott McFall here, Dan Wareham. We see those two battle out week to week, and Ryan Dudley, a driver that will tend to have either a run of very, very good luck or very, very bad luck, depending on how the week goes. So I'm curious to see what Ryan Dudley pulls out here today.
Yeah, we should be in for an absolute banger tonight. So lots to play for, lots on the line. This is the final race of the season, so last chance to make a name for yourself, move yourself up the standings. Obviously, we have the pros, the AMs, and the Pro-Ams all together on track. So this is going to have battles all the way up and down through the field, all over the place. So it's going to be very, very, very important to pay attention to what's going on the track, and also we'll have to keep you updated as well as we can with the live point system. But yeah, no, it's definitely going to be an exciting race tonight. I'm super stoked to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be a really, really good race as Ryan Dudley comes across the line there, P3, so plenty of drivers getting their times in here. And remember, it is a 20-minute heat and then a 25-minute feature with the top 6 inverted for the feature here as Dan Wareham comes over the hill to go back down the hill and is running his way through. I'm curious to see where everyone lands. We've still got Andy White, John Kenny, Shane Bellinger, and Curtis Matthews that need to get a solid lap time in. And I think one of the things that's catching people off guard that I didn't expect personally is track limits. It seems like a lot of people running wide here, but you really don't get runoff. You have a little bit of curb, and then you have grass, and that's all you have. So if you run if you run wide, you're going to have a very, very, very bad time here today.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. You got to keep all 4 tires on the track at all times, because if you dip a tire here at Virginia, you're probably going to lose a lot of time because of it. You're definitely going to lose some traction, and you run the risk of an off track. It's pretty easy to do here, especially with some of these blind corners. Take it a little bit too fast. We have a little bit of runoff there, but that's one of the very few corners that allow you to really expand the track. And a lot of tight, twisty curves throughout here. We'll see coming through the S's now, and you're pretty much flat out through here. But at the same time, you got to be mindful at all times. There is a little bit of a direction change, so you just have to be on top of your game at every single corner on this track, and just be aware of the elevation changes all over the place. And I'm going to come back to it. Plenty of blind corners all over, up and down this track. So it's going to be very interesting, and it's going to keep these drivers on their toes for the entirety of both races. We see here a little bit of understeer there, but he's able to hold on and corral it. Coming to that back main straight. This is the longest straight here. We see him coming up the hill here. I believe we were riding on board. Is that Peter Duke we're riding on board with?
This is Dan Wareham we're riding on board with.
All right, we are riding on board with Dan Wareham. We are coming up the hill now, and then we are going to go ahead and drop. Now, you see those 2 chicanes on the right side of the track there on the straight. We are not using those today, but that long straight comes to a very, very, very quick and abrupt, quick left and sharp right. And then you come down the hill here, left-hander into a very tight right-hander. And this is very important to get this line right, because this brings you out onto the front stretch. And another one of those kind of long straight here. It's not the longest by any means on this track, but you definitely want to get that final corner down packed, done and dusted here, as we see Dan Wareham going up to 4th overall on the timing sheets. So very good lap there by Dan.
Yeah, and there is plenty of pace to be found in these GR86s. I'm kind of shocked to see just how much pace these guys are able to carry as they go through. It's a very, very fast track for these cars. As the timer ticks out on qualifying, we are going to be done with qualifying. And with that being said, we are going to go ahead and bring up your grid here today. And starting out your grid is Scott McFall and Mark Brown, P1 and P2 respectively there. And then P3, Scott Brown leading in the Pro-Ams, Dan Wareham in 4th place. In the Pros, Elaine McCain, Ryan Dudley, P5 and P6, Neil Kennedy in P7, Peter Duke in P8, Dan Forrester in P9. And then, of course, Stephen Parker will be the leader in the AMs. He'll be starting out there in 10th place. Adrian Hadfield, P11, Michael Walters in P12. From there, we are going to be looking at good old Michael Vester, P13, Shane Bellinger, 14th, Curtis Matthews, P15, John Johnston, P16, Stuart Brierley in 17th, Terry Atkinson in 18th, Scott Bell, 19th, Andy White in 20th, and John Kenny in 21st. And the final 2 drivers did not get times put in. So 21 cars to bring us here today. Some great action as we get set up here on the grid today. And it's going to be a very quick 20 minutes, I feel.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for the second race. I know I've done a couple of these Tanso races with you, and when they do the top 6 flip, that just throws everything out the window, and now you have to see all these pro drivers driving back up through the top 5 to get back to where they were, and that always throws a wrench in things, but it looks like we're going to have green lights coming our way here momentarily.
Waiting on, it looks like, nobody else to come in, and it is going to be this man right here, Scott McFall, who is going to be on pole. 5 red lights are going to go. Green is called, and we are going to be underway now for this 20-minute heat, and it is a very slow getaway in these GR86s. Think of it as a standing start for an MX-5, but a little bit more horsepower, a little bit more giddy up to go, and it is going to be McFall. It's Brown on Brown here, P2, P3 respectively, and we see Brown trying to go around the outside the long way around to start this out through the hairpin of turn 1. Now we've got NASCAR corner turn 2. They go through somebody off in the background. I believe that is going to be Mr. Michael Walters. We'll catch back up with him in a moment as we continue up single file at the front of the field. They have things nice and smooth and pretty, it appears. A little bit further back, some more action going on as we check in with the AM battle here. This is going to be Michael Vester trying to chase down Stephen Parker Hamilton just ahead through the twisty bits, I like to call it, for the first time. And everybody nice and pretty in single file. Oh, bit off in the background. That was a big hit in the background. I believe that was Terry Atkinson having that big off. That was huge. Thankfully, damage is off here on the GR86s, but man, that was a moment to start.
Yeah, that was a big hit, and it looks like he collected another car there with him, so unfortunate for the second car that was coming through, wasn't able to confirm who it was. So we jump up front here. Scott McFall has a lot of pressure from the 2 Brown drivers, but it looks like he's got everything kind of under control at the moment as we see some cars weaving in the background trying to break that draft. That is Ryan Dudley riding through there in that bright green and black car, and right behind him he has Ned Kennedy. So he was trying to break that draft for Ned Kennedy. Looks like he might have been a little bit successful because he is starting to pull away just a little bit there in 6th place, trying to catch up to the top 5 here. So we see everybody has kind of single filed out pretty quickly. That is probably to be expected here at VIR. Plenty of opportunities to overtake, but it is not really a multi-line racetrack. You have to be pretty straightforward with your line. So you're going to see quite a bit of this field stretch coming into play as we get a little further into this race.
Yeah, we can see up here, this is going to be Elaine McCain trying to defend against Wareham, as Dan Wareham is going to be trying to look to make a move here. Of course, turn 1 is a hard right-hander hairpin, though, so being on the outside, maybe not the preferred method to make the line, but you can make it work here, and the GR86 is going through. You see, trying to make that move. Back in the back, you have Hadfield and Vester going side by side coming through. They make that pass as well. I do want to jump back to some of that lap 1 action that we had. This is going to be with Curtis Matthews starting things off. The Blue Angels hard on the brakes early. You see that nothing too bad. Somebody goes each line, and then the back end just didn't like what he did there. So, but thankfully he was able to go through. Michael Walters here had a big off somewhere, and I want to jump back a little bit further. This is Michael Walters having his off, and this is ahead of Curtis Matthews. He goes through, dips a wheel on the grass, and then just never recovers, and it sends him off through. He never catches it. and then settles in. A little bit up further ahead, this is going to be with Terry Atkinson, Scott Bell, Adrian Hadfield being involved in this one as Adrian Hadfield came through and has a moment. We see he comes around, he goes off the track, trying to hold on to it, comes through, does a very good job of doing just that. And then John Kenny has had some moments himself. He's had several moments here early on. John Kenny back in last place as we see John Kenny coming through, and the back end of the car just decided it didn't like what John Kenny was doing, and that was it. And his car says race without limits. However, those tires have a limit of grip that you can have 5 minutes in to this race just about. And we do have up in the front here, it is going to be McFall, Brown, and Brown that are leading off our top three. Single file racing for the most part, as we see, but it's very close racing nonetheless.
Yeah, this is definitely close racing up here. You are going to get these single file lines, but these cars are going to kind of use the draft quite a bit at this track, so you should be able to, at the very least, hold on to the car. As we see there in the background, it looks like Kennedy is making that move on Duke. Yep, he's got the move done and dusted right here. Looks like he's trying to get around that car right there. The bright green car is on the inside. Neil Kennedy is at the bright green car on the inside there. He's fighting his way to pick up that seventh spot there. It looks like he might have dropped a position from where we saw them earlier, because I do believe he was ahead of AJ McCain.
I think so.
Sorry, Alan McCain, yeah. So I believe he was trying to catch on to the back of the top five, but has lost position, and now this train right here is starting to drift a little bit further back, but to be expected. You see all those yellow cars up in the top six. Those are all the pros. So the pros are definitely going to be a little bit faster than everybody else on the track, as to be expected. But Scott Brown, the Pro-Am, in third place right there, showing us not just the pros are here to play. So the Pro-Am's very spicy up there in the top three. As we get a little bit further down the pack, I'm still seeing, it looks like Stephen Parker Hamilton is holding on to 10th place over Michael Vester pretty solidly there. So right now, as we see a big moment there from Neil Kennedy, and that's going to make some moves. That's going to switch some things up. And another awkward moment there. That is a strange place to be parked. So that's quite a few cars there having to move there at the last second, trying to avoid Neil Kennedy. We'll see what happens here. Neil just loses the rear end of the car and just unable to control it. Sits in the middle of the exit of the turn there, and unfortunately a couple cars have to make some massive avoidance because of that, and that has shaken things up quite a bit here. Stephen Parker Hamilton up into 8th place.
Yeah, Parker Hamilton up into P8 now, holding off Peter Duke with Michael Vester back behind. So he's got a little bit more breathing room for himself here today as we go. And we've seen Stephen Parker Hamilton and Michael Vester come together several times this season with some very strong racing. Checking back up at the front of the field, this is the pros. This is the move from Mark Brown, trying to get around Mr. McFall if he can. He's going to look, he's going to look to the outside here and try to land that move. He's not able to. He's going to be there just right on the back of him. Nice and patient and smooth, holding on as best he can, because of course for Mr. Mark Brown to get there, he had to clear Scott Brown, and now that Scott Brown's down in P3, we're going to keep watching this battle continue along, and a long 13 minutes left to go here at VIR. Only going to produce a handful of laps, because a lap is about 2 minutes and 6 seconds around this track, so we're not going to see a large lap count. The big thing is survival and consistency as we go through. Dan Wareham right there in that number 373, going to be trying to chase down Scott Brown to get to Mark Brown if he can, and we'll continue to keep our eyes on battles as they develop.
The draft is so strong here. You have to be very careful if you're the leading car not to give too much of a draft, too much of a tow down the straights. As we see these cars getting quite wide there. This is the second hairpin. As we see him coming down that big main straight. And just look how strong this draft is. You'll see these cars just get nose to tail very quickly here momentarily. As we see in the background there, that is McFall with Brown all over the back of him, and then Brown right there. He's got Dan Wareham slowly catching up to him as we see a car going sideways. That is McFall. McFall losing a position to Brown, it looks like. Brown making the move. That's how strong the draft is. You're able to use that draft all the way down that straight, and that is going to put Mark Brown up into first place over Scott McFall.
And these are cars that you wouldn't normally think the draft is going to be powerful on, but man, when it pays off huge. And when you've got these long stretches of just nose to tail like you do here at VIR, it definitely pays off. Here we go. McFall's going to make the move again here on Mark Brown. They're going to go 2x2 for the top 4, 5th place there of Dudley, just looking to see what happens. McFall to Brown. Inside is McFall, outside is Brown. He gets the pass done. Clean, pretty dusted, and then, of course, Brown and Wareham still running side by side back here for P3. This is not going to stop anytime soon. I fear Wareham to the inside in that 373, and he's not able to hold on to it. A little too much curb. He's going to go hard on the brakes, and big wiggle from him. Now he's off there, and Dudley not able to capitalize, but man, he tried to make a move there, and it just didn't pay off.
Dudley's going to have a huge run coming out of these twisty bits here, so this is going to be very interesting to see what happens here. Big mistake there for Brown, for Daniel Wareham, I'm sorry. But he's able to corral it, bring it all back into play, but he's going to be under a ton of pressure coming through the second sector here into the back half, the third sector as we jump up front here. Mark Brown holding on to McFall. Mark Brown was unfortunately unable to defend the inside going into turn 1. So that is what put Scott McFall back in the lead as we see these two just kind of holding on to each other just in the background there. We got Brown and Wareham all over the back here of Scott Brown. And this is going to be very interesting as they come down the straight, this long straight, come up the hill, come over the crest, go back down the hill, and then you'll have that tight left-hander into a tight right-hander. So this is a great opportunity here. We'll see. McFall has
Camera.
Oh, man. Yeah, we got hooked behind the tree there as we see these two, McFall and Brown, fighting for first position, side by side coming through here. And it looks like Brown is going to be the victor on this lap. We'll see if Brown is able to defend to the inside this time around. He was unable to do so last time around, and it looks like he's trying to hug that inside line, taking the defensive line early, making Scott McFall go to the outside. That is the only real option he has because that inside line into turn 1 is a great overtaking position. We'll see Scott McFall go around the outside. He's got the lead momentarily, but he's going to have to cut over under as we see a little bit of loose slide there, and that puts Mark Brown back into second place, unable to hold on to the rear end of the car, and that just lost him the lead.
Yeah, you can only ask for so much out of your rear tires as we go along here, and unfortunately these drivers are starting to forget that the rear tires limit your grip in the car as we go. We see this battle for the top 5 very close, but it can only stay this close for so long. Further back, Michael Walters and Curtis Matthews running side by side here as they run along, and hard on the brakes goes Curtis Matthews, and Michael Walters says, "Thank you very much. I'll go right through," and Curtis Matthews is going to spin off just to add a little bit of insult to injury there. VIR is a very difficult track, and rear grip seems to be the limiting factor as we go through. Peter Duke, Dan Forrester, look at them as we come up under the Michelin Bridge, and they are neck and neck as they run around with each other here. Let's see what happens as we see the SimTech drivers follow each other up the chicanes here and up into the hard right-hander hairpin. You see the leaders there just off the edge of your screen. We go down through, hard on the brakes we go, and it looks like they're going to play nice for at least a moment. They're going to think about it here. I want to jump back up front because Mark Brown has gotten past Dan Wareham. Dan Wareham right on the back there in that 373 GR86 as we run up the hill, down the back stretch here, and they are going to look for something. Look at Ryan Dudley in the background making a move up the inside on Scott Brown, and he's going to make the move up into P4. Ryan Dudley very happy with himself for that one, I'm sure, and we'll continue along here with 7.5 minutes left to go.
Yeah, and we're seeing quite a bit of action here right at the end of that very long straight. So that's to be determined if we continue to see that, but that draft is just working so strong. If you're close enough to the cars, we see a little bit of slow traffic there. Peter Duke getting around that, no problem though, with Dan Forrester right behind him. These two have been battling it out for quite some time now. So we see them coming down the main straight here. This is the pit straight start-finish line, and these two cars are going to be coming into turn 1 here momentarily. We'll see what happens as we jump back up front here. Mark Brown under a ton of pressure by Dan Wareham. Dan Wareham is just trying his best to scratch and claw his way up into the top 3, up into second place, and now he's going to have his sights set on Scott McFall. He goes very wide, but able to corral it there. And Dan Wareham making the move up in a second. Oh, no, he fell back into third place. I apologize there. I thought that he had made that move, but he is back in third place here, right on the back of Mark Brown. But not really letting Mark Brown get too far away from him. He's going to have a really strong opportunity here down the main straight once they get to this part of the track. But that being said, he does have to look in his rearview mirror a little bit, because that is Dudley all over him. 3 cars separated by inches coming down here, and this is going to be very, very dicey coming down the back straight here as we get to the final corners here. This is going to lead us into that second chicane, or that second hairpin, and this is where it all matters. This is the exit that matters the most. This is where the draft is going to be the strongest. We'll see if Dan Wareham is able to make a move here this time around on Mark Brown.
Yeah, we'll see. I think Dudley also needs to be considered as we go along. He's very well in the mix for this as they come over the hill. They come down. Here's going to be where your move hits, and that is going to be Wareham making a move on Brown. If he can make it stick is the million-dollar question, and Wareham does make that move stick on Brown, and McFall has gained almost a second of a gap between these guys as they continue to battle. The more they battle, the further it gets and the more competitive it gets. I do want to also check back here on Kennedy, because Kennedy's under some pressure from Hadfield, or he's putting pressure on Hadfield as they come through on the outside. There's Kennedy. Kennedy up into 10th place, getting through. He's going to be 4th in class there in the Pro-Ams. And of course, Hadfield 2nd place in the AMs there. 8 seconds separating them from Stephen Parker Hamilton. Jumping back up front here, Ryan Dudley hard on the brakes, getting passed there by Mark Brown. Mark Brown making his way through. And then, of course, Scott Brown is just in the mix, kind of watching the air, trying to see where he can pick a place as these two go side by side and settle themselves out here down into the start of the back and forth Twisty Bits section, as we are calling it, because I like the name Twisty Bits, and I don't really care. I know it has an official name, but man, Twisty Bits is fun to say.
Twisty Bits is always a fun thing to say, and I mean, you just look at the track right there. It's extremely twisty, a little bit S-bends throughout this first sector here. It's very tight and twisty throughout the first sector. Then you come up the hill here, and even though this is mostly flat out in the GR86, you do have to lift a little bit in certain spots. That way you don't lose the rear end like we've seen a lot of cars doing so far. Dudley all over the back of Mark Brown there, really trying to keep him on his toes. We're going to see these cars coming up into that second hairpin, and this is the exit that matters the most. Oh, so much for Mark Brown, but oh, so much more for Ryan Dudley. Ryan Dudley is going to have that draft. He's going to follow him all the way down this long straight, up the hill, down the crest, into that tight left-hander is where the moves are being made. We'll see if these two teammates are going to keep it line astern or not. Ryan Dudley poking a nose out, and it looks like he's going to go for the move. We'll see if he's able to make it stick. Oh, just enough room between the two of them, and Ryan Dudley has to back out slightly because of that. They almost made contact. No harm, no foul, but it's going to be another lap or two before Ryan Dudley is going to be able to make that move, it looks like.
Yeah, Dudley's going to have to be smart, pick his points here as we go. The more they battle, the more they let Mr. Scott McFall run away with it. And Scott McFall, a second and a half off the left-hand side of your picture ahead, and is continuing to gain a little bit of momentum here and there. Dan Wareham there in second place, and of course Brown, Dudley, Brown as they sit now. But this will switch several more times. I'm sure a little bit of a checkup there from Wareham as Brown taps into the back of Wareham and Dudley taps into the back of Brown, and Brown avoids Dudley, and that is going to be how they sit for the moment there. And you see that Dudley is really trying to look for some sort of a move, some sort of a way to make his way ahead. He really wants to try to move forward. Of course, remember, this is 2.5 minutes left to go. It's this lap plus one more, and what will that mean at the end? We invert the top 6, so everyone you see here will get shuffled around, and for Scott McFall, he'll have to do what he's done several times this season and battle it from P6 to P1, which he's been very good at and he's been very comfortable with. We'll see how he moves along here at VIR. A little bit of blinking there from Dudley, I believe, but nothing too crazy. Actually, sorry, that was Brown who had a little bit of blinking. We go through 2 minutes left to go officially. We're within 1 lap territory with about half a lap to go, and I don't think that this will be a checkered flag. They should get white flag the next time this man, Scott McFall, crosses that start-finish line.
Yeah, he's definitely going to cross the start-finish line with a little bit of time on the board. So this will be complete this lap, one more lap around. Dan Wareham and Mark Brown really battling it out for that second position there. So we see Scott McFall is kind of just checking out here. He's going to have another lap to come around as we see Dan Wareham has lost that position. Mark Brown back up into second place. Ryan Dudley all over the back of this group. So that's going to keep Dan Wareham under a ton of pressure here as we coming through. And this is going to be our white flag coming around this lap. One more lap to go as we see Scott McFall take that white flag from Barney.
Yeah, and he's going to come around here, passing Barney now. And we didn't really get the chance to see Barney. You see him there on the left-hand side. Make sure Barney gets his screen time here today. White flag out, one lap to go. Back to the background, Mark Brown, Dan Wareham, and Ryan Dudley are not done. Look at Ryan Dudley trying to get his way around the outside there. He wants that P3. He wants those all-important points to the championship here as we go through. And remember, after this, they get a 5-minute warm-up session, which I like to call the 5-minute cool-down session. And what that means for them is it's 5 minutes to relax. And we all know after racing like this, you definitely are going to need it. We go through. Dudley hard on the inside, loses a little bit of grip there, and Dudley now down into fourth. This might even open the door here for Mr. Scott Brown to get his way around if he can, but McFall 2.7 seconds ahead. I think it's all done and dusted for Mr. Scott McFall. Mark Brown there in second, third, fourth, fifth. Back in the background, you do see Mr. McCain 7 seconds off of this group is Elaine McCain, and then further back there you can see Duke Forster and Stephen Parker Hamilton battling their way out as they come around here. They head towards the hairpin, and this is the battle we got to watch here, right here, starting with Brown to Wareham, Dudley and Brown. See how they get things out as they head down the back straight towards what is called roller coaster, actually. If you did not know, this back corner is called roller coaster, and then from there you hit, it's called hog pin before you hit the front straight. And we'll see what happens here for Mr. Mark Brown. I don't think Dan Wareham's going to be close enough for a pass, but doggone it, he's going to try here as we head down the back straight. He is just a little off, though. He's looking for it. He's not going to be able to get it done, but he's going to try. Can he be late on the brakes? He could, but he's not going to. And here we go, hard through the roller coaster section. And it does look like, for all intents and purposes, checkered flag will be out this time by, and Mr. Scott McFall by 2.7. Well, I said 2.7. It's now 2.5. He's going to come up the hill. And ladies and gentlemen, your winner of this heat here in the season finale of Tanso Racing's GR86, brought to you by TH Jordan, is going to be Mr. Scott McFall. Back in the background, Mark Brown does hold off Dan Wareham there, P2, P3, Ryan Dudley in fourth. And then fifth place is going to be Mr. Scott Brown, bringing home the Pro-Ams. And then a little bit further back, we got to go here as we see Forrester and Duke drag race to the line. Stephen Parker Hamilton will bring home your AMs. We'll go back with Hadfield and Neil Kennedy. Started out there in P6. He dropped all the way to 10th, and he will bring it across in P11, just outside of the top 10. And we'll just wait on the rest of our cars to bring it across the line here.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate incident there for, what was it, Ian Kennedy? I'm sorry, Neil Kennedy. Unfortunate incident there for Neil Kennedy. Lost the rear end and then lost probably about 5 or 6 positions. Tried to fight their way back up, but unable to get back into the top 10 as we see Shane Bellinger coming around into the final part of the lap, coming through that final corner as we see the rest of the field is starting to cross. We're only waiting on a couple more drivers here. And I believe it is John Kenny that we are holding out hope for. So John Kenny will be finishing the lap here momentarily. So there's John right there coming down that back straight. And we'll see him come down into the... There's a bit of a chicane throughout here, but there's a lot of elevation change. So it's not your typical chicane coming through here. Definitely a challenging course. I like the fact that one corner is called roller coaster because the entire track kind of feels like a roller coaster to me. Absolutely fun to drive, but it will make you rack your head. You will get frustrated when you're learning this track. There's no way around it. So just be patient when you come out here for the first few times, because it is a fun track, but it's a very challenging track. As we see John Kenny coming around for the final time, this is going to be our final driver coming across the line, and after that, we will be able to bring up your results.
Yeah, and as he comes across the line here, John Kenny, that will settle things out here for this first heat as we get ready for our 25-minute feature race, and it is going to be, as it stands, Scott McFall, your winner, as the results refresh here. And refresh one more time. Scott McFall going to be your winner by 2.7 seconds over Mark Brown. Dan Wareham in third place. Ryan Dudley in fourth. Scott Brown, the winner of the Pro-Ams there in P5. Elaine McCain, Dan Forrester, Peter Duke, and Stephen Parker Hamilton up in ninth place. From there, it is P10 of Adrian Hadfield. Neil Kennedy in P11. Andy White, P12. Michael Vester, P13. John Johnston, P14. Michael Walters in 15th. Scott Bell, Shane Bellinger, Curtis Matthews, John Kenny, Terry Atkinson, and Stuart Brierley, your 21 cars here today that finished out the heat. And now we give the drivers, we call it the warm-up session. It's really not a warm-up. Sometimes you'll see guys do donuts. Sometimes you'll see something a little bit crazy here and there. Sometimes you'll see guys actually go out on track like we see our friend Mr. Michael Vester doing right now, who's going out and about and around in that Discount Tire GR86. Michael, I gotta ask, what do you like to do when you have these sort of like warm-up sessions before a race or after a race? Do you go out and you run laps? Do you sit? Do you go to the bathroom real quick? Kind of, what's your game plan when you know that you have one of these split race sessions?
Well, I'm gonna run to the bathroom first and foremost, and then after that, it depends on the track. If I'm comfortable with the track, then I'm gonna just kind of turn my brain off for a few moments and just sit and rest. But if it's a track that I feel like I'm not getting the most out of my my time on, then yeah, I'm gonna try to put in another lap or two just to get that extra, practice in. But it really, I guess, would be situational. First things first, you gotta go to the bathroom. You gotta go to the bathroom. Nature calls. After that, I try to relax as much as possible, but it's possible to throw a couple laps on just in case you're not quite comfortable with the track. What about yourself?
For me, it's usually I do like slow cool down laps. Obviously, if I don't need to use the bathroom or get something to drink. For me, I don't do push laps. I do very slow sort of like pit in post race laps. Just cool down, kind of recollect my thoughts, and just let myself slowly wind down from the 20 minutes of action, especially in a situation like this, knowing I have 25 minutes more to go as soon as this session timer hits 0. So that's usually my MO, but sometimes I like to go out and put a couple laps in. We got Dan Forster here who is putting in a couple of laps, and of course Michael Vester, who we just watched from those gorgeous speed cams that are embedded down in the virtual curbs, and we watch drivers go very quick with those. Really gives you a sense of speed, because I feel like that sort of sense of speed can be lost a little bit here and there with this track, especially with how it is set up.
Yeah, with a lot of the long straights and then the undulating hills, it's kind of hard to really get a sense of how quick these GR86s are really taking these corners, because they are moving. The GR86 isn't the fastest car on the server, but it's no slouch. It's fun to drive. It's quick, 100 miles an hour here. So see them coming hard on the brakes, and there used to be a big old tree right there, and it is no longer there. They took it out in real life, they took it out in the virtual life, so no more tree there, if some of y'all might remember from a few seasons a few years ago. But so we see here coming down that main stretch, and this is where you see just how much of a hill that really can be, coming up there, and then you just drop down and come right back up. You see here's a little valley right there, come right back up, hard left, even harder right-hander, and that's going to bring you out onto this left-hander right here, and you will be coming around here momentarily to the front straight. So this is leading up to the final corner right here. Come around, and there it is. There's your start-finish straight right there. Pit lane off to your right. We won't be seeing too many people diving into the pit lane, hopefully, tonight, because they don't need to worry about tires or fuel consumption. So our warm-up is coming down, about 30 seconds left, so we'll see these guys gridding up here momentarily.
A couple more guys out and kind of just having some fun here. Dan Wareham's out. Curtis Matthews is out. I do think that Dan Wareham is probably... I thought I saw him just doing a donut. I don't know. I don't have any indicators, though, to say otherwise, but I thought he was just doing a donut for fun and
Maybe
enjoying
a
himself.
start. It looked like it could have been a practice start, too.
Yeah, that would also make sense. We usually see Ryan Dudley out here doing donuts. And Ryan Dudley is currently nowhere to be found. So no donuts in the warm-up from Ryan Dudley. It looks like Ryan Dudley probably taking a moment to relax, get himself ready for this run. Timer is on. All the drivers kicked off the track. And now we will get gridded up here. And it is, again, it's inverted top 6 from our last results. But if you don't know what that was, let's go ahead and pull up what this is going to be. Elaine McCain, Scott Brown, Ryan Dudley, Dan Wareham, Mark Brown, Scott McFall. That is how your top 6 will stack up. Dan Forrester in P7, Peter Duke in 8th, Stephen Parker Hamilton P9, Adrian Hadfield in 10th, Neil Kennedy in P11, Andy White in P12. From there it is Michael Vester, John Johnston, Michael Walters, Scott Bell, Shane Bellinger, Curtis Matthews, John Kinney, Terry Atkinson, and Stuart Brierley. That is going to be how we set up, and it is all eyes on this man right here, Elaine McCain, who will be the one taking everyone forward with the Pro-Am leader of Scott Brown there in P2. What can they do today in this 25-minute heat? Can they hold on for 25 minutes of this feature race? That is the $1 million question. I do not have the $1 million answer. You'll have to tune in to find out and stick around to find out. Make sure while you're sticking around to find out, like, subscribe, ring the bells, do all of the things you can do here to support JP Broadcasting. As we come around, it is going to be 5 red lights as we sit on board with Elaine McCain, and we are going to be green, green, green. Underway we go, and it is going to be McCain taking us ahead there with Brown in second place. Dudley already getting a run up into P2, though, there on the inside. He's going to try to hold on to it as best he can as he gets his way through, and now we will keep our move around. Around the outside is Brown, and Brown is just going to need to hold on for the moment. Scott Brown there. Back in the background, you do have, that is Scott McFall, who is trying to hold on with the other Brown of Mark Brown there to his inside. They go through. They're trying to find the single file run that they had before. Everybody continues through, hard on the brakes up this inside line. They go through. They hold on. Nothing too bad. Further back in the pack, this is going to be back in the AMs. Terry Atkinson trying to make a move here very quickly on John Johnston as he wants to try to make a move forward and look for some sort of a battle. Everybody running under the Michelin Bridge for the first time. We've gotten single file here, and Michael, it seems like this was a much cleaner start than race 1.
Yeah, everything went very smoothly up and down the field through there. We see these cars getting into their single file routine here as we see Alan McCain trying to make a move there on Ryan Dudley. Not quite close enough. We'll see. Yeah, he's going to have to fall back here. He's got to be very careful, though, because every time he kind of tries to make a move there, it looks like it puts Dan Wareham into an opportunity. Dan Wareham just having to defend a little bit from Mark Brown, though. I'm sorry, Scott Brown there. The Browns are throwing me off a little bit. We see a little bit of a lockup there, kind of a strange place for somebody to lock up. So we see him coming down 2 by 2, a little bit further in the back, 2 by 2 up front there. This is going to be a battle for the lead, and we'll see who's able to come out on top. This is going to give the inside line to Elaine McCain. McCain able to make the move back up in the first, but goes way off track there. Way off track there. Able to hold on to the position, but they're going to lose a lot of time. This is going to bring Ryan Dudley right back into play. Unfortunate for McCain there, taking a lot of the inside curb there too. So this has been a very bumpy ride, very bumpy first lap there from Elaine McCain, who has lost that position now to Dan Wareham.
Yeah, you can see.
And I'm going to say, whoa, what happened there?
Something big just happened there, and we'll get a quick replay of that coming up because that was involving several drivers, starting out with Mr. Mark Brown. It looks like this was the big front-end shuffle happening here. Mark Brown going there with Scott Brown going through, big hit, sends him out, and then that is the number 200 of Dan Forster, who got caught up as well. That's a big moment there for all those drivers in the front.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was happening there, but my gut assumption is Elaine McCain picked up an off track, had to do a slowdown pulled over to the left side of the track to let everybody by to control the slowdown, and it looked like there just wasn't enough room to the right side there for those two cars. Came together. Unfortunate for both of those drivers, Scott Brown and who was it? It was this has just put quite a few players back in the game. That is up in 6th place, Adrian Hadfield, the highest running AM right now, up in 6th place. Neil Kennedy up into 5th place there. So great second race here so far for Neil Kennedy as we see a car off in the distance in the background there. But that has completely shaken things up front here. So we see Ryan Dudley in first, Dan Wareham in second, Scott McFall already up into 3rd place.
Yeah, and our top three are going to continue along here with Dudley, Wareham, and Scott McFall. They're not going to be done for the moment. Hard run here. McFall trying to look up the inside. Wareham and Dudley defending it very hard. We know Dudley knows how to make this GR86 a very, very wide running car. Hadfield here under pressure from Forster at the moment. Forster getting right up on the back of Hadfield's car, trying to make a pass there. The leader in the AMs in the mix with the pros and the pro-AMs as we continue down. It's a long group of cars as we continue through. We continue out of this final quarter. 20 minutes left to go. We've only gotten 2 laps of racing, and we have lost Mark Brown and Stephen Parker Hamilton. Side by side go Adrian Hadfield and Forster there. Hadfield on the outside, Forster to the inside. Forster with that inside line should be able to hold this position, but again, should doesn't mean he will, but it does look like in this instance he has a very good job of setting that up. Forster holding that inside line. Hadfield having to go a little bit earlier on the brakes, and that settles that in. So now our leader in the AMs, Hadfield, now has Mr. Michael Vester not too far behind for company, who should be giving some pressure there up in the front in the battle of the pros. Dudley, Wareham, McFall, your top three, with McCain just off the shot there to the bottom, who is just 1.6 seconds back. He's in the mix, but he's not in the mix. He's going to try to catch up as we go, though, in 19 minutes and 45 seconds as of... now we continue along.
Yeah, this has been a very, very exciting battle up front here, but I do want to jump out to the 2 cars that were out. Obviously, we already discussed Mark Brown, but Stephen Parker Hamilton. I believe Stephen Parker Hamilton did not take the start, because I believe Stephen Parker Hamilton, according to his YouTube chat, said job done. So I think he has secured that AM title and decided he wanted to just enjoy this second race. So congratulations to Stephen Parker Hamilton. Like I said, don't think he took the start because he didn't need to. As we see quite a few AMs up into the top 10 now, as Bellinger is falling down the field a little bit. We got Hadfield, Vester, Walters, Johnston, and Brierley all in the top 12. All of those drivers are AMs, separated not too much from the front of the field there. So these AMs have really taken off this season. They are all getting faster and faster, and we're going to see quite a few of them probably moving up to the Pro-Ams here soon enough.
Yeah, all of these drivers are very, very quick, so it would not surprise me to see what happens with them. Stuart Brierley a little bit farther back, having a big moment. Let's see if we can pick up on what happened to him here. This is him running down now. You see he's running through, and he is going to be just hard on the brakes, trying to make a pass. Ducks the nose under the car in front, and the front end doesn't like it, sends him around. Nothing he could do to prevent that one, unfortunately. Just some hard, aggressive driving not working. Up at the front, Scott McFall, Ryan Dudley. This one's battling out again here, and Ryan Dudley going to be on the inside as they sit. Outside is Scott McFall. Scott McFall not able to hold on to that position. He had it for a second. He's not able to hold on to it. And Mr. Ryan Dudley is again your leader with just under 18 minutes to go, and they will continue on. And, I got to say, for Stephen Parker Hamilton, if you've got it secured, one of two ways to go with it. You could go for the victory lap, or, for him it was a case of, I've got it secured. I don't need to do much else. Why would I? And I'm sure I don't blame him a bit, because right now it is very warm where I'm at. I can only imagine it's warm for him, and it's going to be warm in that driver's seat for Dudley and McFall. They go side by side here. Hard down the snakes as they go, and McFall's not going to lose one place. He's going to lose the place. Yes, he does lose the place. And around the outside is going to go Mr. Wareham, trying to get the pass done on Dudley. He's there on the outside there in that pink car. Can he make it stick? We're going to go 3 wide down the backstretch here as we continue, and it is going to be Dan Wareham who actually gets up in the lead. McFall in second, Dudley in third. Dudley trying to get the run into second. He gets the run into second. Can he hold on to it? We continue along here for them, and they are still going to run side by side. Wareham has nowhere to block, really. He's got two lines of cars coming at him, and he's got to just plant it in the middle and hope it holds. Then McCain is in the mix as well. Side by side, they go through the roller coaster, and McFall will get his way back up into second. But for how long? Because here comes Ryan Dudley again up the inside to the outside. Outside once more. If he can hold on to it, it turns to the inside, and he's not able to hold on to it. You see the GR86 come up on two wheels. Man, these top four are not going to slow down, are they?
No, this has been one heck of a battle. We know the pace that these guys have, especially with Scott McFall there in second place. So pretty much everybody else in the top five is just trying their best to do what they can with Scott McFall at this moment, because Scott McFall clearly has the pace. He started sixth. He's already up into second place. He's been fighting for this lead, and he definitely knows what's going on. But this has been extremely tight battling throughout this first 9 or so minutes that we've had so far of this race. If you want to jump out there, KBSR Kenny B, that's Kenny Bagua, pulling for Curtis Matthews in the AM. So Kenny out there in the chat is pulling for Curtis Matthews. Curtis is currently in 15th place. Also saying that we're doing a great job, so thank you very much, Kenny. Appreciate that. And Stephen Parker Hamilton saying it's nice to be able to watch live and get some interaction. What's up, Steven? Congratulations. Go ahead and jump in the chat with us if you're watching live. Great to have you guys hold on or able to watch live for once. I know you guys all like to watch it back later at different times, but it's nice to have one of you guys out here in the chat with us live. As we see the live look in from Alan McCain. That is third, second, and first right in front of him. So this is the best view in the house at the moment, if you ask me, coming through that tight hairpin, and this is going to lead him out to that long uphill straight.
Yeah, and you can see just the amount of pace that is there, and they're not done. And guess what? Further behind them, they do have, of course, Neil Kennedy, Scott Brown, who are trying to catch up as best they can. Neil Kennedy is definitely catching up here in the front. Scott McFall, Dan Wareham, this battle is going to go on again, and Ryan Dudley's right in the mix. Ryan Dudley's going to look to pick the inside line here if he can go through. McFall trying to get the pass done. Wareham defending. Outside turns to inside through the roller coaster. Turns to the outside once more. They go through, and this is going to be the moment where Scott McFall needs to hold on here. Ryan Dudley, you can see just right on the mix, trying to hold his way through as best he can. He's trying to look for some sort of a run, not able to get it as they go around here, and it is going to be up the main straight. Once again, we're under 15 minutes to go, and it's McFall, Wareham, Dudley, McCain, and now Neil Kennedy getting within 1 second, if only just within 1 second of the top four. We could see a Pro-Am battling it out with the pros for a win, depending on how these top four go. And that would be a huge moment. We go through turn one hairpin here, and McFall, Wareham continue to battle it out here. Wareham there, just trying to chase down McFall as much as possible.
Yeah, and we see Neil Kennedy there, able to really make some time up and hold on to these guys. So it really shows you just how unfortunate his first race was, that he wasn't able to, that he was involved in that accident so early on, wasn't able to move back up through the field, because he's clearly got the pace to hold on to these leaders here. So Neil Kennedy definitely going to be doing everything he can. He's cut down about 3/10 there, so he's starting to pull onto this draft. He's starting to get a hold of the back end of these cars. So it just shows you the pace that Neil Kennedy does have in hand. Once again, unfortunate the events that led to his 11th place overall in the first race, because he's clearly able to hang on with the big boys, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely can hold on to it as much as possible as we go along. Ooh, a little bit of tire slide there coming from Wareham, and Wareham's now going to have a rough time there. McFall just got the break of a lifetime there. Dudley's going to continue along. Dudley putting pressure. If he could find a way to get past, it would be an absolute Christmas miracle there. He's going to look for an opportunity to pass here into the roller coaster. He's going to go to the outside, which turns to the inside there if he can hold on to it, and he's looking for the pass. He's not able to get the pass. He's going to slot back in single file there, is Wareham on Dudley with McCain, and Kennedy now is half a second off. So you've got 5 cars battling it out for the top spot as they continue along. Looking at the battle in P2 there for the Pro-Ams, it is Brown and Forster here who is battling, and then of course you've got John Johnston way further back here who's battling it out with Mr. Andy White, looking for the pass to get up into P12, which would put him just a bit more of a gap ahead with 1 car between him and Matthews. That would put him P3 in the AMs if he can get that pass done.
Yeah, no, this is definitely going to be very, very tight for a lot of these drivers here. I do want to jump back out to the YouTube chat here momentarily. Mark Brown, that's me done, lads. Great broadcast. When it wasn't expecting to be taken out on the pit straight when fighting for P2 in the championship. Yeah, Mark, that was a rough incident between you guys, and unfortunately that did end your race there. But yeah, you know, we've all been there. We've all seen things slip through the cracks at the last moment. Unfortunately, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. These things do happen. Stephen Parker Hamilton. I have my family around, so the house is loud, or you'd love to jump in with us. Yeah, I totally understand that. And Kenny, inside joke, my name is really Bourgeois. Bourgeois is for the guys over the pond. JP says it right, but no other announcers do. Yeah, it's because we're American. We don't know how to pronounce anything properly, I guess. You know, us Americans are backwards. Yeah. If you listen to any European or Australian broadcaster, they seem to get it all down, but us Americans are just a bunch of Yankees, right?
I blame it on being from the eastern U.S. if I'm going to blame it more on anything, honestly. So we don't get a lot of fun things. Most of the last names around here are Smith. So that's what I'm used to. And Wareham, McFall running side by side here. Yet again, they go down into the roller coaster, and they're not done here. Wareham is ahead of McFall. 10 minutes left to go in this race, and it's all to play for still up in the top 4, top 5. These guys are just not stopping at all. And then you've got Michael Vester back here in the back who's battling it out with Mr. Peter Duke and is not going to give up. And then behind Andy White, Shane Bellinger that continue to battle. But, man, these top 4, top 5 are not stopping for anything.
No, these guys have been battling it out all race long. Since the green lights, we've seen a battle for first, second, and third place as we see these guys coming through here. The first turn, the first hairpin. Slow traffic, trying to stay out of the way as much as possible. Not exactly the lightest track, not the easiest thing to do, but everybody got through there without any harm. As we see these front runners going through side by side once again, they're not going to be able to do that for much longer as we come through the twisty bits. So we'll see who is going to have the inside line. It looks like Dan Wareham is going to be fighting, and we had contact. Dan Wareham and Scott McFall both off track there. So yeah, there was not enough room at all for those 2 cars to be going side by side through there, as we see Dan Wareham falling all the way down to 7th place, Scott McFall falling down to 4th place, and we'll get a replay here. There's just not enough room for 2 cars to go through here. We see a little bit of a moment there.
It was a snap.
Looks like Dan Wareham got over that curb, lost a little bit of traction, snapped a little bit on him, and unfortunately for him, there was another car there, and that other car was Scott McFall. So both of them falling back. McFall back to 4th place. So damage done, but not terribly for Scott McFall, as we see a new leader, Ryan Dudley, up front with, look at that bright green car of Neil Kennedy fighting it out up in the top 3 here. 2nd place for Neil Kennedy. Definitely a huge turn of events from his first race. Got to be a lot happier with this. Not only is he fighting for a podium, he's fighting for the overall lead. So this is great race here for the Pro-Am Neil Kennedy so far. And yeah, this is definitely going to be exciting as we come to the end of the race here. About 8 minutes left, 7 minutes left to go.
Yeah, these guys are not done. 8 minutes to go here. That should give us 4 more laps of action, a total of 12 laps here around VIR. And Neil Kennedy, look at this. He's got a bit of a run that he's trying to make on Ryan Dudley if he can. But Ryan Dudley, a very, very strong defender. We'll see how that battle shapes up for them. Back in the background, Michael Vester, Shane Bellinger, not done fighting either, because you have Vester and Bellinger there sorting that one out. Yeah, Ryan Dudley, Neil Kennedy right here. The gap very, very close. They're not done. And oh, Ryan Dudley runs wide. Neil Kennedy keeps it nice and tidy on the track. Neil Kennedy possibly going to be a Pro-Am in the lead here and just kind of say, hey, look at me. I'm going through and I'm moving on up here in class as I can. 7 minutes left to go. They head down towards the snake and they continue on through. Neil Kennedy just trying to stay nice and smooth and consistent with his lap times as he can. He's doing a very, very good job of it. And he's just right there on the back of Ryan Dudley. Ryan Dudley, you can tell, is feeling the pressure as they continue through. He's trying to just find a way to hold the pass and keep Mr. Neil Kennedy behind.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be very stressful, not only for Ryan Dudley, but for Neil Kennedy as well, because Scott McFall has gotten back up into third position. That incident didn't hinder his progress too much, so that has not taken Scott McFall out of the play here. We all know just how fast Scott McFall is. So already on the back here of Neil Kennedy. If you're Neil Kennedy, you got to be looking at your mirror thinking, man, I had my opportunity. This is my chance. But now I got to deal with Scott McFall. So this is definitely going to be very, very, very frustrating here for Neil Kennedy because Scott McFall is extremely fast. We see him having that toe. He's a little bit too far back to make the move on this lap. But you know he's going to be looking for any moment, any mistake, any possibility to get that car back up into second place. And he's going to try his best to get back up on the first place. We know how fast Scott is. Do you want to jump out to YouTube chat? We got a lot of YouTube chat today. Thank you guys very much for communicating with us. We love it when you guys are, active in the YouTube chat. Stephen Parker Hamilton saying that he is going to take the promotion to the Pro-Am class. I believe, he was talking to us about that after Laguna Seca, so he is going to definitely take that Pro-Am class promotion. And Kenny B saying that he is American too, so he's from South Louisiana, so it's French, bourgeois. That makes sense. Here on the East Coast, don't really have a lot of French.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I'm in Myrtle Beach, so I just got a lot of Southerners that just talk like they're from a Western, I guess. I don't know. Like, y'all. They say y'all all the time.
Well, y'all know that y'all kind of ranges several areas, so y'all isn't necessarily a Southern thing. It's no, I lied. It kind of is
nice
a Southern
move
thing.
here. Neil Kennedy really all over the back here. Ryan Dudley. I take back what I said. He's not worried about the car in his mirror. He's worried about the car in front of him. Neil Kennedy is going all out for this lead, and that might put Scott McFall right on his bumper here, but he does not care. Neil Kennedy throwing everything he can, trying to catch Ryan Dudley, trying to win the overall race as a Pro-Am. Wouldn't that be something? That'd be absolutely stunning to see Neil Kennedy, a Pro-Am, taking the overall win on the overall feature event here at VIR. But that being said, Neil Kennedy is under a ton of pressure here coming down that straight from Scott McFall, who's going to have the inside line once they come to this back corner. He's already got the job done and dusted, so there you go. Scott McFall up in a second.
Yeah, Scott McFall getting his move up in a second. He's got 2 laps to try to make a charge here for the lead if he can make his way through. And we'll see. Ryan Dudley's a strong defender, so it's going to be a very, very close one if he can make it work. We'll watch as they go up the main straight and they continue along. And we see back in the back, side by side, Kennedy and McCain are battling it out. But here we go. McFall to the outside, Dudley to the inside. McFall does have just the nose ahead, and with Kennedy and McCain, it is McCain ahead, but Scott McFall, Ryan Dudley still not done. Side by side they go. Where they stop, nobody knows except for them. And at the moment, it is the outside turns to the inside, and here we go for Mr. McFall. McFall does get that lead done. He's going to set that in. Good block and defense. And now he's going to hold on a little bit of a slide from the back end, though. Again, that back end grip at the end of this 25 minutes is going to be limited on these GR86s they go through. They head up towards NASCAR corner. Now down the snakes they go. And this is going to be where things get interesting. Neil Kennedy has dropped down into P4. Now Neil Kennedy has a big problem behind him, and it is going to be this man, Mr. Scott Brown, who is P2 in Pro-Ams. He's going to be looking for the lead if he can find it. Ryan Dudley putting pressure on McFall. McFall blocking with all his heart's content if he can. Neil Kennedy trying to get his way past Elaine McCain, forces his way around the outside, and he's not able to there. But man, this battle has just opened up big time here up at the front of the field.
Yeah, we're going to see quite a lot of this going on for the last couple laps here as we see them coming through that final hairpin there down to the back straight. So this is going to be where Ryan Dudley tries to hold on to the back of Scott McFall as much as he possibly can. Neil Kennedy doing the same thing right there behind them with Elaine McCain. So we're going to see possibly 2 moves into 1 corner, and we'll see what happens here. That is Ryan Dudley taking the inside. He's got the draft. He's got the line. Is he able to hold on? Because he's got that nose just slightly ahead coming to the apex, and that is going to be it for him. Ryan Dudley does have that outside line, but he does have the lead. So this is going to be Ryan Dudley's race to lose coming down. This will be one last lap left as we are under 2 minutes. So this is going to be the final lap here coming through. One moment away from that white flag here with Barney. So we see Ryan Dudley did force his way back up front. He's got Scott McFall drafting him, coming down that pit straight. But right now, about to take that white flag and lead us into the final lap here.
Who is going to win the pros? Who is going to win the pro-ams? That's the billion-dollar question. As it stands, you have the battle on your screen for every position. Right here we go, Dudley, McFall, and it is going to be Brown and Kennedy. Kennedy does give up that position for the moment to Brown, but he's going to send it right back up the inside and try to hold on to it up ahead. It is Scott McFall trying to hold on to Ryan Dudley if he can. We go up with the blimp cam, try to get all the shots at once. Here we go, up the inside goes McFall. Dudley will have to drop back into P2 here as they head down towards the snake section, and it is going to be Kennedy who has to drop back behind Brown as well. So now we continue up the snake section, up the twisty bits, heading towards the hairpin, and it is going to be just a 3-car tangle right here. McFall, Dudley, McCain, 1, 2, and 3 respectively as they go. Here comes your dive. That is going to be from Mr. Ryan Dudley there, and McFall trying to make a move around the outside, trying to hold on to it. Dudley's going to have the inside though, but McFall has the inside at this moment, and he was trying to get the inside up into the double right-hander. He's not able to get that move, and Dudley is going to settle in behind. We're going to head towards the backstretch here, and this is going to be one last shot for all 5 of these cars to settle their positions.
Yeah, but you got to think as you see him snaking all over the track here, trying to break that draft. This has got to be advantage to Ryan Dudley because of that toe. So we see Scott McFall doing everything he possibly can to break that draft. This is such a long straight here, but this is going to be everything. This is for the lead right here. This is the race. So we see Ryan Dudley does not have enough room to make it work there. Is he going to have anything off the corner here? No, he is going to have to fall off. He's going to have to wait. And it looks like Scott McFall has survived, but this puts Alan McCain right on the back here. Ryan Dudley coming down the final stretch. We're going to be 2x2 for second place.
Yeah, Scott McFall can breathe a big sigh of relief here because Scott McFall will come across and win the feature race here for the finale of this Tanso Racing GR86 TH Jordan group. And it is going to be McCain beats out Dudley by 0.015. In the Pro-Ams, it is Brown ahead of Kennedy, and it is going to be Adrian Hatfield who will bring us across for the AMs with a very significant lead there, over 15 seconds back to the next AM. And P2 in the AMs is going to be settled in here at the line with Vester and Walters, settling it out by just a couple of tenths. They go through, they're fighting, and it is going to be, in the end, it will be Vester second place in AMs, Walters third in AMs as we wait for the rest of the field to get across the line.
Yeah, this has been a very exciting fight. We see Curtis Matthews getting a little loose there, but it's all good. He's able to keep it back on track, coming through, taking the checkered flag. We're only going to be waiting for a couple cars here. That looks like Terry Atkinson. Terry is coming down the back stretch right now. You'll see him here momentarily fly by us, I believe.
There he goes. I was going to say, what
there
happened?
He is. Yep, there he goes, coming through here. He's going to be coming into the final little sector here. That quick left into a right-hander, coming back into another quick left, leading up to the final corner as we see Terry getting a little bit off there. That is definitely very easy to do in that area. A lot of elevation change there, so it comes out of nowhere. Completely honest with you, it's a blind corner, a little bit of a chicane S, if you will, with a lot of elevation change, just like the rest of this track, as we see Terry Atkinson coming around. This is our final driver to finish up the lap, and that is going to be done and dusted for this race, as we see Curtis Matthews in the background there just probably looked like he was just doing some donuts there. As we see Terry just kind of throwing it out there in the grass. But this is your winner, Scott McFall, fighting from 6th place all the way up into 1st place and doing it with style, doing it with having to deal with quite a bit of drama, controversy, everything you could possibly imagine as we see these drivers coming through for the final time this season. Absolutely stunning race. Great finish. I want to shout out to everybody in the YouTube chats for helping us out there. But yeah, Brad, what a end to the season here at VIR.
Absolutely amazing end of the season. And as we have our leaders coming down into the pit lane here, let's go ahead and bring up for the final time here in this season your race results. And it is going to be, well, if I can click right buttons, that would help a lot. And it is going to be Scott McFall who wins overall in the pros. Elaine McCain, P2, Ryan Dudley, they're in 3rd place in the end. Scott Brown leads out in Pro-Ams ahead of Neil Kennedy with Dan Wareham there in P6, Dan Forrester in P7. Adrian Hadfield will be your AM winner by a significant margin there in P8. Peter Duke in P9, Andy White in P10, Shane Bellinger P11, Michael Vester, Michael Walters, John Johnston, Curtis Matthews, Terry Atkinson, John Kinney, Stuart Brierley. And from there, we are going to see Scott Bell, Mark Brown, and Stephen Parker Hamilton, who didn't take the start because, as he said, job done. So that's a big run here. Season finale here at VIR. Don't go anywhere though, and don't wonder when are we coming back. It's just a couple of weeks that we're going to be off, and then it will be back here starting the 20th of September. Let me double check my dates, make sure. The 22nd of September will be when we come back and we start back here. We'll continue through. It'll be more great GR86 racing. And if you're interested in joining, make sure you check out and ask to join the Discord and join the YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bells, do all the fun things here to support the JP Broadcasting Network for completely free here. But that is going to be where we sign things off here today for this Tanso Racing Group TH Jordan GR86 season finale here at VIR. On behalf of Michael, my name is Brad. We'll tell you start to finish. Be sure to join us. Actually, I lied. Michael, I'm trying to sign it off too quick. You know what I forgot?
You forget interviews.
Yeah, I can't forget interviews. Let's pull in Scott McFall here. Overall winner. Absolute stellar season. Scott, good evening, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, guys. How you doing yourself?
Not too bad at all. So good battling there up at the front. Talk to me about your battles up in the front, because it seemed like anytime we tried to look away, you were making a charge for the lead.
Yeah, to be honest, just looking at lap times and that race pace, I knew the guys that were alongside us had good pace at this track. They're normally quite strong here anyway, at best of times. So the main thing for the night was just settle in and try and drive smart, pick the opportunities when they come open. I knew I was going to get overtook at some point during the race anyway, multiple times. So it was just how close can I keep it and where can I be smart and put it back on them.
Yeah, it feels like with the GR86 is part of the struggle is just being smart. But I do have to say, Scott, if I'm doing my math right, you have settled in, cemented in the championship in the pros. If I'm not wrong, so you have secured it in.
Yeah. It was quite strong going into the night as well. I think it was like a 60 odd point gap running into tonight. So it was really just a race of scoring points. And I knew the other guys were battling for second in the championship. So I didn't really want to play too much part in that. But we were all in amongst it. I think it was like 5 years maybe, all at the front together. So yeah, it was good racing.
Yeah, it was a really, really good run. And Scott, I have to ask, will we see you again next season, my friend?
Yeah, the plan is to come back next season, definitely. I think John's got some things in the pipeline planned for us for next season as well. So I'm sure there'll be more to come on that side of things from John himself, who runs the league, Tanso.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. And anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out, of course, before we let you go for the evening.
Yeah, certainly. Give a shout out to teammates as well. Tanso Racing League, John Johnson for taking his time out, and the other admin members to put everything together. Good shout out for yourselves, obviously doing the broadcasts every week. They're second to none as well with the action he's catching it and the commentary he's keep up with. So and a good shout out for Scott Brown winning Pro-Am, I believe, tonight as well, and Neil Kennedy on the grid. One final one I'd like to add there, without being too cheeky, is personal sort of thing that I've got going on now. So I shout out to the Conspit guys, which is a sim racing company. I've been using their direct drive base unit and steering wheel, which is just about to be released.
Very nice.
Awesome, Scott. Congratulations, man. Congrats on the championship. Congrats on the win. And we'll see you next season.
No worries, guys. Have a good one. Thanks again to you both.
You too. Thank you. And let's pull in a man that hung out in YouTube chat for the second race because, in his words, job done and dusted. Stephen Parker Hamilton, good evening, my friend.
Good evening, guys. Nice to be able to watch the stream and sit back and have a Red Bull in peace.
How's it feel to win the championship there and then be able to just kind of sit back and say, you know what, job done?
Oh, nice. I've told you guys before when I was talking to you at Laguna that the task is to win amateur. So then I've got no qualms of going up into Pro-Am next season. That was the whole goal, and I managed to pull it off with a heat to spare.
And looking ahead to next season, are we expecting you to be at the top of Pro-Am too? We expecting some championships back to back?
I'd like to say that's the aim, but I think the pace of the guys in Pro-Am's a little bit quicker than the pace in the guy in AMs. There's a few quite fast guys that drive in AMs, but the top three in like Pro-Am's are probably the next step. So I'm going to try. I'll give it my all like I always do.
Absolutely. And Steven, kind of just looking at the GR86s as a whole, this is a car that produces some super close racing. So I got to ask, when you watch it back, does watching it give the sense of how close and how tough the racing is as it is when you're in the driver's seat?
Yeah, watching them last few laps back in that heat too with Scott McFall and Ryan Dudley, especially the last two laps when they were nose to tail and swapping positions, that's how I like racing these cars. I like it to be close. And yeah, you pretty much captured the essence of these cars in especially in Heat 2 that I saw, because obviously I was racing Heat 1, but did a very good job of that.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome to watch through. And Steven, anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go and let you go enjoy your victory and your championship?
Obviously, thanks to you guys for putting up the great broadcast. Thanks to my MRC guys for the limited amount of practice I've had this weekend, but they were still there and helped me get through it. Thanks to Tanso, thanks to John, just thanks to everybody that's took the time to race with us on a Sunday, really.
Awesome. And a big thanks to you, Steven. Congrats again, and we'll see you next season, all right?
Yep, thank you, guys. Talk to you later.
Thanks. All right, Michael, and I don't see our Pro-Am winner, Scott Brown, anywhere. So I think this will be where we can officially call it. So any final thoughts before I now formally send this one off?
Yeah, I mean, this has been an awesome end of the season. What a great opportunity to be here for us. I do want to give a shout out one more time to everybody in the YouTube chat for talking to us today and just making our jobs so much easier and better. I love talking to you guys. So thank you very much to everybody out in the YouTube chat. Brad, thank you for doing all the heavy lifting here, and I'm excited to see what comes in the future.
Yeah, I'm excited for the next season. We'll be bringing you the next season here on the JP Broadcasting Network. But until that time, on behalf of Mr. Michael here, my name is Brad. We've taken you start to finish. Be sure to join us for the next one here on the JP Broadcasting Network. We're here on the JP Broadcasting Network. We'll take you start to finish yet again. Good night.